The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Jesus took Peter, James, and his brother John, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. And he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became white as light. And behold, Moses and Elijah appeared to them, conversing with him. Then Peter said to Jesus in reply, "Lord, it is good that we are here. If you wish, I will make 3 tents here, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." While he was still speaking, behold, a bright cloud cast a shadow over them. Then from the cloud came a voice that said, "This is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased. Listen to him." When the disciples heard this, they fell prostrate and were very much afraid. But Jesus came and touched them, saying, "Rise, and do not be afraid." And when the disciples raised their eyes, they saw no one else but Jesus alone. As they were coming down from the mountain, Jesus charged them, "Do not tell the vision to anyone until the Son of Man has been raised from the dead." The Gospel of the Lord. Carpe diem. Seize the day. Peter, overwhelmed and dazed by the transfiguration right in front of him, did what most of us would do in a mystifying and astonishing moment. Not sit around, but take action, do something. Make it a Kodak experience, he says in a sense. Capture the moment by building some dwelling places, one for Jesus, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. I can imagine Peter having the nails and hammers ready to go, corralling James and John to join him. There's that saying about people. Some want it to happen, some wish it would happen, others make it happen. Peter is definitely the type that makes it happen. And many of us perhaps can see ourselves in Peter. We take action. We don't sit around doing nothing. We work hard, we produce and achieve. These values, in a way, has been ingrained in our culture and in us, which have led us to many accomplishments and successes in our lives. It's a good thing, yet it's also the source of our complaints. We get tired often and sometimes lose ourselves in the rat races of life. Some of us even get burnt out because we completely bought into the myth of identity based on accomplishments. Our doing, our achievements equates to our identity, who we are, and our worth as a person. So we can say that Peter's insistent on doing something to contribute, being part of the group, building tents for them to stay at, is completely a natural and understandable thought. But while he's still speaking his action plan, God's voice hushes him to say, referring to Jesus, "This is my beloved Son. Listen to him." In other words, this is not the time to take action and do something, but to acknowledge and be still, to take notice and listen. Of course, part of our discipleship of who we are as a Christian is a response to doing something in response to God's gracious love for us. We can't be couch potatoes, Pope Francis says. But the trick is, as in most things, is balance. Knowing when to do and when and how to just be. One of the most popular and best-selling book, also the second most translated book only after the Bible, is written by Rick Warren, entitled The Purpose-Driven Life. Because we all want to know what we're supposed to do. Where is God calling us? But we get so busy and action-oriented that we fail, like Peter, to be still, simply to stand and be grounded in the awe and mystery of God, so that we can discern, discovering the great meaning and purpose as we listen to God's voice. Listen to Jesus, who is the way. Henry Nouwen, a great priest and also a spiritual writer, writes that perhaps there's a reason for some of us to stay busy and work hard. Besides doing good, serving God and others in our daily work, he confessed that his young self wanted to impress others with his achievements, and he also enjoyed the affirmations of his colleagues. But on a deeper level, he recognized in himself, and suggests it may be true for some of us, that we stay busy because if we ever let up, if we ever get quiet and listen to where God is leading us and what he might be calling us to do, then we might have to deal with it. We fear what we might hear because it could take us outside of our comfort zone. So we stay busy, multitask, practice selective hearing, turning on the radio, looking at our phones to fill up our time and space. Because it's not that we're afraid that God won't speak to us, but rather we're afraid that God will. Perhaps this is the reason Peter wants to get busy with his own agenda, because he surely doesn't like the plan Jesus shared with them before going up the mountain, that Jesus as the Messiah will suffer and be killed. And for them as his disciples, they must take up their crosses and follow him. When the disciples heard this, Matthew writes, they fell prostrate and were very much afraid. But Jesus assures and consoles them to not be afraid. Because just as God appears to Moses as a fire in the burning bush, calling him and sending him on a mission, we learn about the nature of who God is. That God, as the fire and flame within the burning bush, does not consume and incinerate the bush itself. Moses does not get hurt for getting closer and isn't asked to do the impossible. So neither will we with Jesus, who is that divine fire, the Holy One that burns and penetrates, leading us and showing us the way without consuming us, if we were to be still and listen, letting ourselves be guided. God is on our side, wanting nothing but the best for us. And even though we are called to die to ourselves, to pick up the cross and go beyond ourselves, but only so that we may grow and discover a newness of life that we may not have ever discovered on our own. In the Transfiguration, it's not only Jesus who is transformed, but also the disciples and those who are willing to consent to God's invitation. Because God opened their eyes and ears to have sight and to have hearing, to see the shining glory and the kingdom of heaven that awaits them. We strive towards a paradise we can't even imagine, where Christ dwells in light and in love, transfigured forever. He is waiting for us, hoping for us, and praying for us. So rise. Do not be afraid. Be still. Listen and discern. Where may God be calling you?